Hi everyone, this is Arcadius and welcome back to Naval. Today we'll be reviewing the newest prism ship that has been released, that being Kaliningrad. Now, this ship is a very interesting ship to say the least. And honestly, I'm still on the edge about her. I haven't had that many games in her. I've had some good games in her, but I don't really have a good playstyle yet. But first, I do want to go through a few things. Today was patch day. There are a few changes. So to start off, the Japanese destroyer Kagero has received an update to her guns. They now shoot 10 rounds a minute instead of I believe it was 8 rounds a minute it originally was. I still don't see her as being a good gunboat, but at least they made her at least somewhat good with guns. I haven't played her, so we'll see what happens. And then, in my opinion, they ruined the entire French battleship line because all those powerful 6-inch guns that fired armor-piercing shells and could citadel cruisers without any problem now all fire high explosive, or at least that is what the update said it has. I haven't actually played a game since the update came out, so I don't really know, but if that's true, then there's a lot of potential damage that the French battleships just lost out on. Lastly, the next main thing is that the next Tiger cruiser came out. Now, the actual picture itself isn't loading in the tech tree window, so that's why you see Ubari right now. But if you actually click on it and look at the details, yeah, you have 2 main guns, and that's it, because no torpedoes, no nothing else. These are AA guns. So 2 Minotaur turrets on this kind of hull. She doesn't look like a bad ship, honestly. And she's going to be a diamond ship, which makes sense because she seems pretty average at best, I guess you could say. Yeah, we'll take a look at her more once she actually comes out. But honestly, she just looks mediocre to me. You can take a look at the stats as well to see what you think of, and then once we do our video, we'll make up our final decision. Alright, but today, we're going over Kaliningrad. Now, this ship, honestly, I don't think it should be called a battleship. If anything, I think Scharnhorst should be called a battleship, and this ship should be called a cruiser. Even though Scharnhorst has 11-inch guns and this one has 16-inch guns, this one does not have the playstyle of a battleship at all, or at least not a very strong one. So let's take a look to see what we have. We have 59,800 health. As a tier 8, that's absolute trash. 21% torpedo resistance. I mean, that's not really that big of a number. You do have up to 490 millimeters of armor. So technically that's, what, 19 and a half inches of armor? That's maximum. However, your belt is only 6 inches. Yeah, 6-inch belt on a battleship. And most of your armor are on the turret faces and the conning tower and the barbettes. Now, the armor may sound pretty good on these guns, but I can tell you I've actually been able to knock out these guns relatively easily. You have, when I'm in a Kaliningrad facing the enemy bot Kaliningrad, I will shoot all 6 shells directly at a profile like this on the Kaliningrad, and it'll take out, usually it's this top turret right here. And you only have 2 guns and 1 secondary turret, and you can't even control this one. So if you take one of your guns out, that only leaves you with 1 triple 16-inch gun. So honestly, the armament on the ship is pretty lacking. That being said, the guns are quite good. 2.3 rounds a minute, and pretty good 180-degree turn time. Shell velocities are pretty good as well. I've only really used armor piercing, so I don't know how the high explosive works, but the shells themselves I've had no problems with. You can shoot out to 23.1 kilometers with your main guns, and your accuracy is pretty decent as well. Also, another thing about the armor, Considering you only have a 6-inch belt armor, you are extremely easy to citadel. Within 2 salvos, I can sink this entire ship with battleship guns. And there's no real way to angle your armor except directly bow on. So you have a bow tanking kind of gameplay, and if you even give a little bit of side, you're going to pay dearly for that. However, the secondary itself is actually pretty interesting. It's a quadruple 7-inch gun. Now, I actually expected this to fire armor piercing because of its large caliber, but it fires high explosive. Now, it's not as effective as maybe something like armor piercing would be, but this secondary actually sets quite a few fires, believe it or not, and it can get some pretty decent damage considering it's the only secondary on this ship. So yeah, your secondaries or secondary is pretty decent against at least destroyers and cruisers. It's not going to sink anything except maybe a destroyer. If it has enough time, it can sink a destroyer. But it can shoot out to 9 kilometers, which is actually pretty decent. I would definitely not recommend a secondary build, though. It's not worth it in the least. So your guns are pretty good. You do have to bow in because your armor is trash. But I feel like this kind of wants to be like a Missouri almost, in the way that she wants to use her speed to help her survive. But she just really doesn't have the armor to do that. However, her speed is 32.5 knots, so she is pretty fast. But yeah, like I said, I don't know how to play her yet. All I've been doing is bow tanking her against the entire enemy team and keeping my nose towards anyone that can actually damage me. I've been able to survive so far. And when I go against the enemy bot Kaliningrads, they always get broadside, and I immediately take them out within 2 to 3 salvos. So I can see how the armor would work if I went broadside, and I'm not that impressed. That being said, you can see quite a few AA gun mounts here. And at first I thought she would have really good AA. But she's still pretty much average, honestly. You have good middle and inner range, but outer range is not that good, and your ranges aren't that good either. So maybe if you put her full AA, it might help, but I don't know. She does come with a heal and a repair, so no special consumables. And then I have her for a main battery enhancement for a quicker reload and rotation. Better steering, because if I need to angle my nose towards someone quickly, I want to do it as fast as I can. And then main battery advanced defense module, because I don't want my guns being taken out and just leaving me defenseless. So with that being said, let's toss her into a game and see what we can do. Alright, and here we have ourselves a game. We have 3 battleships and 4 cruisers, so no destroyers and no carriers, which is actually pretty decent. And this map isn't terrible either. So let's see what we can do. The only problem with battle tanking in a ship like this is if you're rushed by, let's say, another battleship, like let's say there's a Massachusetts running you down. You can't reverse as fast as the Massachusetts can run you down. And if it gets on your broadside, you're dead to rights. But if you run away and try and use your speed, you have to give broadside. And if you do that, you're pretty much good as dead anyways. So I don't really think there's a good playstyle with her right now. You might just have to keep her at range and nose in. But yeah, we'll see. I've had a few games, and actually some pretty good games. I think I almost hit 400,000 damage in one of my games. And you just have to find a good corner of an island and sit there, pretty much. Now I do have health buffs and speed buffs applied at this time, so keep that in mind. This is not the base ship. Turret rotation is pretty good. I don't really know how good the rear angles are, because like I said, if you get broadside, you're gonna regret that almost immediately. So most of the time I just have bow angles, in which it's at least 180 degrees. Definitely more, though. Alright, so what kind of ships do we have? We have Massachusetts, Richelieu, Kaliningrad, Cleveland, Prince Eugen, Hitler, and Mogami. Alright, so let's see if we can go hunt some cruisers. This might be a good cruiser killer, but besides that, I don't really see how she'll fare because she's actually, like, she has the lowest amount of health for all battleships. She has 16-inch guns, but if that's the way we're deciding battleships, then that's the only way that she can be considered a battleship because everything else is pretty much just like a cruiser. So, pretty good for shot. Half the shells hit on a narrow target. I'm actually going to slow down because I don't want to rush in. As you can see, the accuracy is pretty decent. The shell velocity means that you can actually hit targets with relative ease. Let's see if we can get some damage on this Prince Eugen actually. Alright, cool. 2 citadels. Alright, so here's the enemy Kaliningrad. And now, watch how effective its armor is. 3 citadels for 51,000 health. It only has 59,000. So that was 1 salvo. And let's finish it up with the second salvo. And another citadel, and she sunk. This ship is so weak in the armor department, it's not even funny. That being said, she can do the exact same thing to Mogami. Oh, that's sweet. And let's see if we can finish off this hipper. So she's definitely a cruiser killer. If you give broadside to this ship in a cruiser, you're definitely dead. Alright, so let's actually see if we can use our secondary here. Though I think Massachusetts is going to get the kill before I have any chance of doing that. Yep, there we go. Alright, so I know Richelieu's over here. What else is there? Massachusetts. Massachusetts is probably over there. Let's go tangle with this Richie. As you can see, I'm just sitting here with my nose towards the enemy and trying to ward off any potential broadsiding targets. But yeah, so far I don't, like I said, I'm going to keep repeating it. I don't really know if this is the best way to play this ship. You can definitely play her as a battle cruiser, just run around at the extreme end of your range at full speed, maneuvering wildly, and you'll probably have some good games. However, like I said, I feel as soon as you show your broadside, you're going to regret it. And so I hesitate to do anything but show the nose to my enemy. And honestly, you don't really have a reason to show broadside, because all your guns are on the front anyways. Alright, so this hipper's on my team is probably going to get himself absolutely deleted as soon as Richelieu sees him. So let's take advantage of that and get some good broadside attacks. Now remember, this is without the accuracy module, and I don't have the crew skill applied either. So this is pretty much base accuracy. I don't know if any of my ornaments give me a buff or not. Oh, there's the Massachusetts. Okay. Let's actually switch over to high explosive. I haven't used high explosive at all, so I want to see what it can do. Oh, I think it'll just be like normal high explosive. Yeah, pretty much. Nothing special. Alright. So Richelieu's almost down. We can get maybe one more salvo before she gets past this island. Yep, there we go. And she sunk anyways. Right now we just have to finish off this Massachusetts. And it will be a completed game. Alright, so almost 20,000 damage for that. Yeah, the ship punishes broadsides relatively quickly. Alright, let's speed up. And see if we can finish off this Massachusetts here. Trying to aim for that stern. Not enough. Poppy heal for the very minimal damage we ever received. And then see if we can finish off this Massachusetts now. That should be good. And there we go. So let's see how we did. $231,000 damage, 3 ships sunk, 66 shell hits, 1 aircraft shot down, 10 citadels, 1 assisted cap, 1 defended cap for 8,600 base XP and 11,000 free XP. Remember, she is a prism ship, so you can use her to grind free XP, which I've been doing so pretty effectively with 5.04 million free XP. Yeah, as you can see, that way of gameplay, as what I mean as battle tanking, can work. However, I don't know if that's what this ship was designed for. I really don't know what this to do with this ship, so I'm just going to keep nosing in and keeping at range when I can, because you don't have the health, you don't have the armament, you don't have the armor to do anything except sit there and try and snipe. I mean, that's definitely a good tactic if you can pull it off without a problem, but it may not necessarily be fun. But yeah, so if you want to buy her, feel free to. However, just understand that you will be we have a very hard time dealing with enemy battleships if they decide to focus on you. Enemy cruisers, you should not have any problem. Within reason, I mean, you're actually going to be going up against Scharnhorst. You're at the same tier. And honestly, if it came down to this ship versus Scharnhorst, I would give Scharnhorst the win. Heck, if it came down to Prinz Eugen versus this ship, I'd give Prinz Eugen the win. I just don't have much faith in the survivability of this ship. She just doesn't have enough to satisfy me. That being said, her guns are pretty decent as long as they're working. And yeah, I have no complaints about the secondary, except I wish it was armor piercing. I haven't had a good chance to test its AA. If there was a carrier in the game, I never came across it. And most of the time there is no a carrier in the game anyways. So I don't know how our AA works, but on paper it doesn't look that strong. But yeah, the ship's not bad, just nothing that stands out besides its interesting design. So with that, I will wrap up today's video. If you liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe. And join me tomorrow while we go over the very first mission of the event that's currently out for the Fuso sister ship, the newest one. That being the Star Reacher one. I've renamed it Surigao. So instead of this one, it would be this one, which is completely ridiculous and just a complete waste of time. But we'll still show you what the missions entail. So with that, thank you for watching and take care.